All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. If you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tanner Metro. I am a Valorant shoutcaster, I guess predominantly for the VCT for the past couple of years. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. We kind of have a mutual friend, so I'm glad he put us in talks.
Yeah, shout out to Stickbug. He's a real homie for this one. He just came out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh, yo, you know someone named Tanner?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you want to come have him come on the podcast?" I'm like, sure." Just a random.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, I would love to have him on." So you said you did VCT. Is this was VCT your first game like casting, or did you do other works beforehand?
No, so I actually started. So I started casting in like 2020, a little bit before. It was like just before the pandemic hit. I was going to school and casting kind of popped up, but I actually started with unpaid, but my kind of grind to VCT was with a game called Battle Right. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like League of Legends if you took out everything and only had team fighting. So it's a top down 2v2, 3v3 or 5v5 like arena fighter. And they eventually came out with like a battle royale and stuff, but at the time I was playing the game and I was just messing around. I was really interested in the pro scene, and I would just like cast my games after I died in game, and people were just like, "Hey man, you sound pretty good at this." And I was like, "Okay, well," like it clicked in my head, like, "Oh yeah, Captain Flowers, that guy gets paid to do this.
Yeah,
let me try." And so he's kind of like he's a guy I look up to for sure. But yeah, so I started there. Battle Right was like a super small game. Obviously, not many people knew about it. And then I jumped to like I think the most obvious of obvious for people when they're casting for League of Legends. I started doing League of Legends for a while, which is still hands down probably my favorite game to cast. And then I just started picking up everything that I could. I did some Overwatch. I did some Apex. I don't know if this was the only, but I'm pretty sure at the time it was the first. I cast the first ever like competitive Escape from Tarkov event.
oh yeah.
It was super funky, but I did that. So I've really done a whole lot of everything, and then that like allowed me to build up my reel and pitch it to Nerd Street at the time, who was doing First Strike for Valorant, and like they were doing their community streams, and that's kind of like where I got my big in. They were like, "Hey, we want you to do community streams. It starts in 2 hours. Here's all the assets. Build your stream. You're going to be following Sentinels." And I was like, that was kind of my in.
they just told you 2 hours beforehand. It's like, I figure it out essentially.
Yeah. So I was at the time. I was shout out to Kieran Ito. I live in Arizona. He used to live in Arizona as well, and we were casting a Valorant gig. It was a Friday, Saturday gig at a local LAN center. And it was really cool because esports here was like really starting to pick up. It was sponsored by like the Arizona Lottery and the State Fair. So I think we were getting paid like $400 for the weekend. So it was just like, it was cool to actually be finally getting paid. And I remember walking in on Friday and talking to him about it and saying, "Hey, did you see that Nerd Street was looking for casters?" And then like we joked about it. And then I walked in Saturday and I was like, "Hey man, I threw my hand in the hat, or my name in the hat. We'll see what happens." Kind of like just joking. I didn't expect to get it. And then they reached out to me Monday morning, I think at like 8 a.m. And the show started at like 11 or 12 or something. So yeah, I had like 3 hours to kind of prep this stream for First Strike to follow what at the time and unknowing, would be the largest team in VCT just by their name. They were number one and I was following Sentinels, and I solo produced it, solo casted it, solo observed it. I did it all myself. With just like super short notice, but like at that point, like I don't know, like that's just, to me, that's kind of just what casting was. Like I was always cool with doing the solo thing, so it just worked. It just kind of fell into my lap.
So was it nerve-wracking when they just told you, it's like, "Hey, by the way, you have like a couple hours just to figure everything out"? Was it like more nerve-wracking for the preparation, or is it like, were you calm, and then when like live started, it was like, "Oh shit, like it's starting"?
Oh yeah, so I've been doing my own stream, relatively unsuccessfully for like the past 7 years. So like I was very familiar like with getting the assets and getting things set up. I wasn't too worried about that. And I don't think I really thought about kind of the magnitude. Like I understood. I took a video on my phone. I probably still have it, where I'm sitting down in my chair and I recorded and I had said something along the lines of like, this is about to be the biggest day of my life. Like this is my big break. And I will make another video afterwards. And I didn't make another video afterwards, but I made that one. And then jumping in, yeah, it was pretty nerve wracking because I had like 6,000 people on my channel. I was like reaching out to people in my Discord, like, hey, who can come mod my stream right now? Because I don't want the chat to be getting crazy. I don't want chat to get all rowdy and stupid. I didn't know that, like, at the time, like, you know, Sentinels is kind of like FaZe, it's kind of like frat boy-y, and like they're also like the fans are super diehard fans, so they just get, you know, they get rowdy. And yeah, it wasn't so much nerves because it was a community stream. So I think I kind of had this understanding of, at the end of the day, I'm doing this for free. I'm getting paid in publicity, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not expecting perfection. They just don't, you know, I just, you know, don't make any inappropriate jokes or don't swear, you know, super inappropriately, you know, like when you play Valorant or like when you're casting Valorant, the casters will say like damn and hell and stuff like that. So like that, I kind of like knew that was, you know, I had some wiggle room with being up there and being like, you know, trimmed up and proper and, you know, it still being a community stream. So not so much nervous as I was just kind of just going with the flow and hoping things didn't break.
So do you think that was the stream, or do you think you did a lot of like another work later on that was like, damn, now you're starting to go to like LAN events, you're starting to go like, hey, they actually want me to do VCT from now on. Like when did that start? Like when did that happen? What was like the sequences?
Yeah, so it's actually funny because they did 2 iterations of First Strike before like leading up to the main event. One of them, and I think this is when Riot was trying to figure out who they wanted, like who was going to win the bidding over their event, because Riot like up to this point only handles Masters, or I think in 2021 they handled Challenger 3 playoffs, and then in 2022 they handle the LCQs and Masters. Really, like they run it, and if you're working those events, you're on Riot's payroll, you're getting paid by Riot. Otherwise it's all coming from, you know, a third-party company, which eventually was Nerd Street. So at the time, Nerd Street did the first strike and UMG did the second First Strike, like qualifiers. And I didn't know, I had no information on the First Strike stuff, but I didn't know that it was going to go 2 days. I didn't know what I had signed up for. So I had a Rocket League thing that I was doing. That was a paid Rocket League thing on that Tuesday. So at when I got the Monday gig, I reached out that night to Bach, Mark Wilson, who was working at Nursery at the time, and had said like, hey man, I can't do Tuesday. I didn't know that you needed me for 2 days. Like if that, like, that's my fault. I'm sorry. And I thought at this point I was burning bridges. I was just like, I just had my biggest day ever. And then I just told them, you know, sorry, double booked, find somebody else. And so I was super worried about that. But UMG eventually brought me on for the next one. And at that point, Profi, I believe used to play with Space Station, kind of bounced around, was playing with Complexity. But Profi really put me on because Profi was in box DMs saying, like, as a pro player, hey, you need to have this guy cast more events. You need to have this guy cast more events. So after doing a couple more like nights, weeklies, and like leading up to the VCTs, Nerd Street finally reached out to me after they won the bid and they knew that they were going to be doing this stuff. They're like, hey man, we want you to come cast VCT. You have the community in your corner. So like, let's do the damn thing. And so, yeah, so it really was kind of just those couple events that just put the community on to who I was and my casting and stuff. And the community broadcast stuff, it's easy to kind of show your personality because you're not just like super, again, you know, prim and proper on like a big broadcast. You're just doing it on the comfort of your own stream. You can be a little bit silly. You can be a little bit funny. You know, you're talking to chat. So, yeah, I think those streams really, really put me on.
If you don't mind me asking, did you ever do the cast for Masters? You did, right?
So I've never cast Masters. I've only done I did Challenger. I think it was Challenger 3 playoffs, which was kind of
Yeah.
that was the only Riot run event that I've done. But then I did so I did all of 2021, and then I did stage 1, all of stage 1 in 2022, and then I did the stage 2 openers. And then I didn't make stage 2 main event, and then that led into like LCQ and or Masters, LCQ, Berlin, all that stuff.
Have you found it easier to cast, or what was like? I mean, Valorant is kind of new, so like it's like when you first casted Valorant, like I've spoken to a lot of casters. They say they memorize like the ability names. When you first casted, were you like, do I have to memorize these ability names, or am I just gonna wing it for that from now on?
You know, I came from League of Legends, where I actually have them right here. I casted League of Legends the other day, but I came from League of Legends, where like I have
Oh wow.
my stack of note cards of like the champion abilities that I do know, and then these are the ones that I don't really know, which are some new champions and stuff. So yeah, for League of Legends, I would sit down and I would look at a card here and I'd say, okay, Misfortune. Misfortune is double up, strut, make it rain, bullet time. And so like I constantly just like hammer this stuff home. Like, okay, Akali, 5-point strike, Twilight Shroud, Shuriken flip, perfect execution. And so like I did that for 120 champions at the time. Now there's like 160, 180, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that wasn't difficult. I think what is made easy though by Valorant and the ability names, I think you can, like as a caster, you can get a lot out of having fun with the ability names. That's why I really like League of Legends, because you can say so many different things for so many different abilities, and you can almost describe what's happening when it's happening. Versus in Valorant, things happen a little bit quicker and they're pretty like definite. If somebody's shooting at somebody, somebody's gonna die. It's very rare, outside of like a showstopper or paint shells that you kind of don't know and you have some time to like flavor it. But when it comes to the abilities, you didn't necessarily need to know that Phoenix's flash was called a curveball, because you could just say flash because it's a tactical shooter. Like, so coming from Counter-Strike and stuff like that, it kind of just makes it easy to say smoke or say flash. But I do think that there is good flavor to be added by saying, the nebula or the sky smoke, or even calling them something different, like the dust bubble, right? Or, Astra's grape, because it's a big purple, circle. Like just like stuff like that. I think you can flavor it. But yeah, I wasn't too worried about memorizing the abilities. But when it came to memorizing them, it was fairly simple, because there was like 11 agents at the beginning, and they're all pretty nothing
easy.
Crazy.
Do they advise you guys to say the names, or do they tell you like go be creative and like have fun with it?
So I've never been told directly to like say the names. I think it just sounds better when you do add that in. And this again coming from League of Legends, because well, in League of Legends, it sounded worse, because you would say Ezreal's Q, right? And instead of saying Mystic Shot. And then it kind of sounds like, does this guy really know what he's talking about? Like, I'm sure he knows the game well. You can know the game without knowing the champion abilities, but it adds so much more when you actually call it the Mystic Shot. So they didn't say that for Valorant. And they've never kind of, at least to me directly, they've never told me against, hey, try not to call it a flash all the time. But it does get boring to hear flash, 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 smoke, smoke, smoke. So it's nice that you have options to say curveball, blaze wall, and things like that. Nebula smoke, dark cover, all that stuff.
Oh, that's good. So when it comes to the Valorant community, did you ever feel like the community was more open or like more accepting, or do you feel like it was kind of worse compared to like you did Rocket League before? So did you think like, hey, the Valorant community is kind of like more open, more nicer than compared to the Rocket League community, XYZ and all that?
Yeah, I think I guess it's hard to say. I think the people that matter is like really the only thing that I think about. And when I say the people that matter, it's like not the people that say nice things, but the people that aren't saying mean things to say mean things, right?
Yeah.
So like when it comes to Valorant, typically when somebody likes the casting, they just enjoy the casting. When somebody hates the casting, it's because they said something about their team, they said something about their favorite player, or something got misunderstood. And so I guess I don't really pay too much attention to that in way of the community. I do feel, although I don't look it, I'm 29 years old, and so I'm a little bit older, I think, than the Valorant scene. So I don't feel I fit in the most because it's like I'm 29, I'm a dad. I don't know like all the Zoomer language, stuff like that. So sometimes I feel that way. But outside of that, like, I've never felt kind of pushed out or unaccepted really anywhere that I have casted. But Valorant's where I've been casting the longest, and I've always felt like Valorant was home and that I was welcomed.
Yeah, no, you could definitely tell the Valorant community. I mean, it's a young game, and I mean, you could definitely say like a lot of people from like Counter Strike, Overwatch, they all came from there to Valorant, and there's a lot of new young, definitely talent. Do you feel like it's also like good and bad, like a double-edged sword when it comes to like a lot of young like audiences come to Valorant, because you definitely see the toxicity that comes with it as well. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know if you read Twitch chat, because we've asked other casters if they ever like have Twitch chat on the side while they're casting, and some of them said like no, some of them said like I'll watch it afterwards and it's kind of annoying. Like, do you have that on the side, or does that bother you when someone's like trying to like essentially shit talk you while you're like casting and Twitch chat?
Yeah, so the only streams that I'll open up the chat for are like small streams or Nerd Street streams, because obviously once it starts to get to the the 5,000s, 10,000s, 15,000s, 50,000s, people are gonna say mean things just to say mean things, and that's fine. And also, like, I think if you do have chat open and somebody says like L caster or this caster sucks, that's because they have a favorite caster and you're not them. Like, that's just what it is, right? Like, people are gonna hate Freak in League of Legends because they love Captain Flowers, and that's just gonna happen. People are gonna say Freak is cringy, and other people, it's funny, Freak actually tweeted something the other day with that where somebody tweeted at him and said like, Freak, just hang it up, man, you're getting cringe. And then 3 more replies are like, dude, that line that you just said was amazing, right? So it's like, you're not gonna be able to please everybody. But I definitely don't open chat for the larger streams. For the smaller things, I do like to kind of hop in there and like just show love to the community, say what's up, respond to somebody, or even I think what helps me the most in like those smaller tournaments is if I'm mispronouncing somebody's name or misrepresenting somebody in terms of gender, people in chat will let me know. And that's obviously not something that we are trying to do as casters. We're not trying to use like the wrong pronouns or say somebody's name wrong. A lot of the times I will go into a cast and say like, hey, this is the player list. Is this how we're pronouncing these players' names? That way, if, me and my co-caster are wrong, we're going to be wrong together, and, we'll get corrected together, whatever it is. So the smaller streams is when I'll usually have it up and can sometimes pop in. But yeah, the big stuff, it is just better for your mental health, for everything, to kind of just stay away from that.
Yeah, no, for sure. They can be ruthless sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
So, back to the topic, you said that you for cast like the players' names. Do you actually go to them and ask them like, hey, by any chance, how do you pronounce your name, or how do you pronounce your tag, so I can just know, or like, what do you identify as? Have you ever done that, or do you go by someone telling you?
Yeah. So, I guess it really depends. A lot of the times, we will ask like the tournament organizer to say like, hey, can you have the observer ask them what their pronouns are or how you pronounce certain names, because the observer's in the lobby with the players, and it just makes it easier that way. For events that are a bit more put together, they usually have a list, and they'll give us like a sheet of the teams. Like anytime working Game Changers is really nice, because we would get our matchup and in the Discord it would pop up. They would like give us a team, and then up at top of the team, if it said like she, her, then we knew that everybody on that team was going by she, her. If not, that they would have it labeled. It would be, X person, Bunny B, they, them, Starry Bun, she, her, and they would have like all of that kind of laid out for us. But I do reach out to some of the players. Tyre from Gen G, her name is I think it's Tiraye, and you get, Tyray, T-Ray, you get a bunch of stuff. So I reached out to her and said, hey, just so we can set the record straight, how do you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
Just because I want to make sure I'll pass this information along, but I want to make sure, the desk is all together, the casters are all together, because ultimately you pick the name and now you're famous. So your name should be pronounced correctly because you chose this name and got famous with it. You want people to know who you are. And if they call you T-Ray but you're famous as Tyray, people aren't going to know who you are because you're hey, I'm Tyray. And they're like, oh my God, that reminds me of my favorite pro player, T-Ray. And it's oh, well, that's me, but my name is always pronounced so it's just it's our job to represent them correctly because, if their names didn't matter, then we could just call them whatever we wanted.
No, for sure. I think that it's also important because you'll see the all time plays where someone's for example Faker, when he does an all-time play, it's Faker's name, it's the energy that comes with it when Flowers, or when he says that, it's it means a lot how he says it and how he pronounces it, because when his name pops, it's oh, it reminds me of this play he did, or anything tens is it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty easy to pronounce, but saying if you pronounce anything else, people won't remind him. So it's it's good to make sure to pronounce the name and everything. I mean, I don't know if you've done any international events. I don't know if that's been an issue, because I know international events, some of them are harder names to pronounce.
I'm trying to think. There was not an international event, but there was a team playing from maybe Mexico, I think is what it was, for one of the nerd streets. I think it might have been a Game Landers team. So they might have been playing from South America or something with terrible ping. I don't remember the names of the players, but that is kind of the furthest I've gone away from pretty strict NA names like Pancakes and Nerf and stuff, when you have to have
the accent for.
Yeah, I guess kind of the accent for it. That Game Landers team was the only team, and unfortunately, I don't remember any of the players' names. I hope they're all doing well, though. Sorry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the Game Changer scene has has definitely been bigger and bigger ever since the iteration of it. And I don't know if you've definitely seen I know they're having a LAN event. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been announced that you are doing it, or is that a hush hush thing?
So I don't think talent has been announced. I would imagine, I have not heard anything, and I believe the event runs the 15th to the 20th. So I would imagine that if I was going as a caster, I would know by now. I would hope the casters know. So I don't think I'm doing that. I'm very sad that I'm not doing that, because I've been working Game Changers since its inception, and I've just grown a connection with the players. And it would have been really cool to just be out there and support them like that, and really just continue to tell these storylines, especially for North America. And for the other teams that are joining, right? The Team Liquid Brazil is absolutely insane, and we've seen the run from G2 Gozen and Guild who just be so it would just be cool to be a part of that. Yeah, I'm sad that I'm not. It makes sense. I think the talent that they're bringing in are incredibly veteran talent and talent that have done the Masters, the Champions, those guys. Which I think Riot kind of has a prerequisite of, in order to do X big event, you need to do the big event just behind it. So it's in order to do a Champions, you need to do a Masters. And in order to do a Masters, you need to do a Challengers playoffs and stuff like that. So, or a main event, how Stage 2 main event was the 5-week thing leading into the playoffs. But yeah, so I'm not doing it, I'm pretty sure. I am trying to get out there through another outlet, which I don't know if I can talk about, but I am going to try and be out there at the very least, just watching and supporting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this episode would come out in 2 weeks. So, I mean, if you said it, people wouldn't know till next Friday.
Okay.
So
I'll just say, I guess I also should have added at the beginning of the show that I'm one of the hosts for the Valoranting podcast.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get out there as media for Valoranting, to do player interviews and watch the games and stuff like that and be able to hang out. So hopefully I can get out there through through that outlet because nobody could buy tickets. Yay.
Yeah, wait, I heard about that. I don't like it was like tickets are sold out and then like the families and friends of the players can't even get in, which is like I think I saw one of the G2 Gozen players tweet about that, which is
Yeah.
like kind of insane to say the least, because I'm like I feel like the first people you should have is the players' friends and family. Because
Yeah.
it's like, well, I think it's like the first LAN event, first international LAN event at least. And it's like you should at least have like family and friends. I feel like that would just amp up the environment and like amp up the players. So it's like interesting to see for the most part, because I feel like Game Change is like it's slowly growing and growing, and I do like how it's growing, and like I feel like more and more people are becoming more accepting of it. Finally, it took them too long, but
Yeah.
it took them too long, but they finally got it. I was actually gonna ask you about Valorant. Can you tell me how that started?
Your guess is as good as mine, man. They called me on for a Tuesday one time. I don't think I'm like the most exciting guy. I feel like I'm like pretty bland. I'm not like incredibly opinionated. Like I do have my opinions, but I just like I hold my cards close to my chest because I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to, I'm not trying to pick sides. Which is not like the best way to live life. I'm working on me. But yeah, they just reached out to me one day and they was like, hey man, would you want to be a guest on our show? At the time, the other hosts were leaving or like doing other things. It was Vansili, Mitchman, and Uber. And I think Uber was away in Australia for vacation and spending time with family because that's where he's from. And he like got stuck there because of, some COVID stuff that was popping up. So he gets stuck there. So they're just down a host. And then I believe Mitchman was looking to start to do other things or just not do Valoranting anymore. So they eventually needed, another host. So they were kind of just reaching out here and there to people. And they had me on a couple of times as like a reoccurring guest host. And then eventually they're just like, hey man, do you want to be like part of the show? We'll have you on this, we'll pay you this, we'll do this and that. And we'll just, and for me, like not being able to cast as much as I would like, or like not being able to, I guess, like show personality or whatever it is. That's like I say that because that's like the big feedback that I got when I was casting. It's like, hey, we love your casting. We'd love to know who you are more. So like show more personality, which I don't really know how to kind of bridge the gap between the two. Like being professional caster and like, being like Tanner Metro and just being Tanner Metro. Like I don't know how to bridge the gap between the two. So I thought like, yeah, I should do this because I'll be able to show who I am, my knowledge of the game, just be able to talk about the game, stay, like kind of like looped into the scene. They allow for like really cool conversations with like pros and coaches and stuff. So yeah, it was just like a couple of weeks in a row that led to them just being like, hey man, do you want to join us full time? Because we need hosts. And I was like, I'm in, man.
Yeah. No, I've watched some of your stuff. You guys are like really interesting. I feel like the guest you guys bring on is like amazing. Because I know you guys just recently had the Vitality head coach, was it?
Yeah, Salah. Yeah, we just had Salah on.
Yeah, which is like interesting because I was like, damn, like you guys can just get anybody, and it's like it's so interesting to see that because like for me you guys definitely have like more how to say exposure, so you guys are like easier to like bring out people. For me, I just sent a DM and I'm like I hope they respond to me.
I hope they see it.
Yeah, dude, it really is that because everyone's like, so how'd you get him on? I'm like, dude, I just shot a DM and I just prayed that he's responded back. That's really all it is. Like people think it's like, oh, I went through like I pulled strings. Like, nah, man, I just shot a DM. That's all I do.
That's funny.
Or like I know people like for you, like for example, like Jake was like, yo, you want a Tanner on the podcast? I'm like, I mean, if he's down, I'm down. I'd love to have him on. More people, more the merrier. So it's interesting to like the the way you guys do it and the way like we do it because we came from nowhere. I mean, we're esports fans, but like we grew up watching these like casters and we grew up watching video games. So it's like it's interesting to talk to you guys and see your perspective because a lot of people don't like. I feel like a lot of people don't see like how you guys are outside of casting. They only know you as a caster. And I feel like it's interesting to like for you to talk about. It's like, hey, I just I'm this. I'm like I'm not that special. It's like I'm just like one of you guys. It's not nothing too crazy. So it's really like a breath of fresh air to see you guys.
And it's funny because I was just talking about that about some. So I'm like I like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm big on Dungeons and Dragons, and I had a friend of a friend go to like a convention, and they met. I don't know if you're familiar with Critical Role, but it's like the biggest Dungeons and Dragons show. It's like every Thursday they have 40,000 viewers, and it's a bunch of like voice actors that all do a show together. And he kind of had that same conversation, which I think like obviously a smaller scale for me, but it's like it's really cool to see people that you really look up to for doing really cool thing, whatever it may be. It's cool to see them like at their core, they're just like normal, cool people. Like they're just, it's not like that. That's why I think casters and talent or even players will always, I guess I can't speak for all the players because, they're allowed to have egos, but like always go up and bug your favorite caster, right? Always go up and bug your favorite analyst, whatever it may be. Like if you see them walking around, unless they look like they're walking with a purpose, which if you see Mimi walking around, she never looks like she's walking with a purpose. She walks on her tippy toes. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But
wait, who was it?
Mimi, evil cat. She walks crazy. She walks on her tippy toes. She does this thing called diddy bopping where she like gets taller with every step because she goes up on her tippy toes. She's very funny. I love Mimi so much. But if like she doesn't necessarily look like she's walking with a purpose. She might be. Yeah, like just go say hi because they want to talk to you as much as you want to talk to them. They want to give you the opportunities to meet them as much as they want to meet, the people that support them. So always go say hi to your favorite caster if you see them. Never be too worried. They're never going to be too, big timey or too showy for you. But I will like preface that with we are all awkward and like introverted or social anxiety ridden. So if you walk up to your favorite caster and the conversation isn't going great, or you don't have something to, keep the conversation going, maybe something that you want to ask them or talk to them about, it could be just as quick as, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. And then you guys get awkward for a second and go your separate ways. So I would always say like, and this goes for meeting anybody, but try to speak with them with a purpose. If you want more than just, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Okay, I'm going to go. Because we're all awkward, man. I guess not all of us, but like we do just have those personality traits because we are just, normal people.
No, for sure. I feel like a lot of people get scared because everyone thinks like, oh no, these guys are big. They don't want to talk to us. It's like to be fair, like after talking to so many people, I feel like it's just like I don't get why everyone like so scared of you guys. I feel like it's just like, dude, everyone's just like a gamer like us. It's not that hard. And everyone's just like gamers. So like it's always funny to see like when I'm like talking to different people, it's like, oh, you guys are just fucking. You're like you guys are a vibe. So it's like it's nothing wrong with that.
That's how it is.
Is there a game you wish to cast? Like, there's this one game or like, is there like one game where it's like, damn, I would love to cast this game?
Dude, it's not possible. But if I could speak it into existence, I would love. And I'm not comparing myself to Rivington Bislin III. I love Riv. That guy is the man. But I would love to like reverse Riv, and because he went from League to Valorant. I would love a world where I could go from Valorant to League of Legends, like stay within the Riot ecosystem because they know me as a caster and cast League of Legends. I think League of Legends, it's the most fun game to cast, even if it's not the most fun game to play or whatever people may think. The game itself, man, there's so many opportunities. You have a lot of time to talk. Even if it's your color caster talking, like the team fights, it's all a little bit unpredictable. You kind of have a general idea of who's going to kill who, but anything is possible, especially at the highest level. And like the outplay mechanics and the outplay ability, you don't really get that in Valorant. You can paranoia somebody and then shrouded step and totally goof them, but like outplaying somebody can be a little difficult unless it's like a slow, meticulous, 1v1. I just feel like League of Legends, you can bring a lot of energy to a lot of different things that are happening in the same exact fight, whether it be a 2v2 in the bot lane or the junglers are ganking or a team fight. I really, really enjoy casting League of Legends. And like, I think that might like bleed into, the Apex Legends, because that's kind of similar. It's not as cut and dry as X person sees X person and they get one tapped by the Vandal, and now X team takes a site. Valorant is just like can be relatively static in the way that the game kind of paces and plays, whereas Apex Legends, League of Legends, even in Halo, like those are like the three games that I've been keeping my eye on outside of Valorant, just because you just have so much freedom to do whatever. But at TLDR, if I could do League of Legends only, I would do League of Legends only.
Yeah, no, League of Legends is like one of the fun, like most like. I didn't expect it to be this fun because I just recently went to the group stage, the quarterfinals in New York.
Oh, you went?
Yeah, I went to the
That's
quarterfinal.
cool.
I went to when JDG versus Rogue, and then I went to Damwon versus Gen G. And I
Nice.
tell you, the atmosphere and the energy is just like,
Yeah.
I never felt anything like it, because like it's just a bunch of gamers and we'll just start screaming about the randomest shit, and then everyone's just like cool with it. I've never
Yeah.
experienced, because that day literally motivated me. I'm like, damn, I want to go to more events. I mean,
Yes.
unfortunately, nothing really happens in New Jersey or New York, so it kind of sucks here. But when it does, we go to it, and it's like, I never realized, because like in League, like you'll have like these micro plays, and it's like, oh, for like that might not mean anything, but like later on, it's like it develops into like bigger things, and then like the game goes on, and then like their storylines. I think League is, in my opinion, has one of the best storylines I've ever seen in a while, because like you'll have like right now, I mean, have you been watching at all League?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like right now it's like what, Def's last dance, and then you'll have Faker. He's going for his 4th championship, and like they both went through high school together. So it's like these storylines are like intertwining, and then Riot's doing such a good job in just building off hype. It's just like it makes it, because like now it's rumored that Faker might retire after this season. So like everyone's like free. It's like, oh shit, like this is like the finals.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like Valorant hasn't had that yet, in my opinion. I feel like when slowly going on, because I know CS, I've been watching CS since like 2014, the majors and all that, all these storylines. Like right now, I don't know if you follow CS much. If you do.
Not as much as I should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just one of like the all-time great Brazilian players. He just had his last dance. He just got eliminated. So like that was a big thing. And it's just storylines. I feel like casters are really good at building a storyline or hyping up a storyline. I don't know if you can agree with that. Not build it, but more hype it up than anything. If you can agree, if you think so.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Valorant, so that's the one thing that I mentioned it the other day, and I don't remember if I was working or if I was just hanging out with people. I don't remember what I was doing, but I'd said like Valorant would be as big as League of Legends, or will be, but we just need more time, because we need the timeline to develop a bit more, right? And like we're really getting there, because we're having like roster shuffles, and now you look at Cloud9 and you're like, okay, Cloud9 just picked up Yay. They also have Vanity, Zelsis, and Leaf all together. Vanity and Zelsis, former teammates, and Vanity and Leaf playing with Cloud9, and so like there's a lot that is starting to happen with the franchising or the partnership program, where a lot of players are getting left by the wayside. And so you're going to see like rivalries start to build, and kind of like teams and players play with chips on their shoulders. I think the casters that we have in Valorant are incredible casters.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of them about, just like, hey, how do I get better? You guys are doing the main events. And I want to follow in your footsteps. Like, well, so what are some things that I can do, or what does like a prep day look like for you? And so I always try and pick their brains. And Brennan Sideshow are a couple the casters who come to mind as like probably my favorite pair. I think a lot of people's favorite pair. I think they work the best together. It helps that they're best friends. Like in real life, they live, if not together, like relatively close to one another. I think like in the same apartment complex. So, but they send me these storylines of like the story that they want to tell for this game. So it's not just about, loading onto the server and being like, okay, we're here in the pistol. One team has 3 ghosts. The other team has 3 frenzies. Flash out, bang, bang, bang. They're building up hey, in this pistol round, like this is going to set the precedent, because the guard sucks in pistols. 100 Thieves is good in pistols. If the guard can get a win here, this is, you know, them working back towards X thing. You know, if 100 Thieves can get this pistol round, they want to get revenge on the guard for 13-0ing them, you know, previously when Eccles and Baby Bay and stuff were on the roster. So it's like stuff like that. The casters in Valorant do a really good job. So yeah, as casters, I would say, you know, that is something that we are looking to do. We do want to highlight more than just the gameplay, because that's going to highlight itself. When somebody hits a 4K, everybody in the chat is going to know how crazy that play was. So to amplify everything surrounding it, I think is something really important to casting, like every individual matchup and every individual storyline.
No, yeah, for sure. I feel like you guys have done like a really good job with that because, yeah, of course, like compared to other games, like I mean, they're more solidified, like League and CS:GO, like they're more solidified, so they have longer time to do it. But I feel like Valorant is still too young of a game to like even have like quote unquote rivalries. I feel like this franchising is definitely going to do it because a lot of players would be like, damn, I'm better than this guy. Why am I not on the team? I feel like it is going to cause a lot of like quote unquote beef. Do you think beef within like players, do you think that's good or bad for business or like as a caster as well in the caster POV?
I think that stuff is good for business. I guess it just depends on. Well, I think trash talk is trash talk. I think trash talk is good for the entertainment value. Like, I think for like the fan base, sometimes it comes off a little bit cringy, especially when like people take roster moves too personally and now they're like trash talking because they just took something to heart a little bit too, you know, deep, when it's just like, hey, this is the business side of things, not the personal side of things. But yeah, I think it's good because, you know, then we get like orgs like Sentinels who are just constantly trash talking. Then we get the like the social media posts kind of back and forth between X teams. It's like you know, Cloud9's famous tweet of like, congrats on the 2-0. There's no way they'd come back from this, right? Yeah. That like kind of started as some trash talk, and now it's huge, and it really is something that the whole community can get behind. You know, the casters can bring stuff like that up. So yeah, I think the trash talk is good. Obviously, we're all gamers, we're all nerds. I don't think anybody should be fighting anybody. So hopefully, like, it's never really getting, you know, more than just the beef on the server. Which, if that's kind of where we're drawing the line, then yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, have beef, but don't make it personal. Talk about the game or like the person, but don't bring like their family or like their girlfriend into it. Like that's right. That's like something you shouldn't, because like I feel like a lot of like that's another thing I kind of disliked about a lot about the community is like when they bring beef, they'll like for some reason they'll bring like the pro player's like significant other. It's like, what do they have to do with this? It's like it makes no sense, and I feel like that also has to do with like the Valorant community being young. Like they don't know the history of esports. Yes. I feel like they don't understand, like, all these pros, they're like cool with each other. They just like to shit on each other a lot. It's just all trash talk. It's like, I mean, it's like the NBA, it's like the MLB and all that. It's like these guys like shit talk each other. You'll see them like getting angry at each other on the floor, but they'll be cool and get dinner afterwards. I feel like they don't understand that it's them being competitive. That's how it is. And it's definitely interesting because the community is has a lot of there's a lot of growing pains, in my opinion, because I feel like it definitely needs that. And I feel like it's slowly gotten better, but at the same time it's slowly gotten worse. I made this comment yesterday or like a few days ago where I was like, I feel like the community is slowly ruining Valorant because it's either ranked or just like the community itself not knowing how to handle themselves. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think the Val community sucks a little bit. Not everybody, obviously. Yeah, I think it is. It's just so young, and I think what the problem is, and I don't know if this is like in because it's an internet era or the COVID era where Valorant kind of got popular, but it's like it's really weird that like because the age range of Valorant is so young, we have, 15 and 16-year-olds developing like crazy egos because they're like cracked Jet players. And so it's like people like feeding the egos of these young players or these young individuals, like even before they're players, to kind of make them the toxic shithead that they can be. Valorant is also like really weirdly and crudely sexualized with like the
Yeah.
his jet and or his Sage, her jet, and like people thinking that they're gonna get girlfriends because they're radiant. And so yeah, it's like the young age stuff, but then to like act to accessibly at 16 years old have all of this power in your hand because Valorant is e-dating and Valorant like and at 16 you can play for a signed org, like now just only through Ascension, not through the partner program because it's 18. But yeah, it's like it just it's opened some really weird doors for the community to do really weird things. Now to say that the Valorant community is the only community that kind of sucks, I would just be lying, right? I'll log into a League of Legends game right now and have somebody run it down top lane because they died first blood solo and I didn't gank them while I was still clearing the bottom side of the map in my first clear in the jungle. You know, so it's like every community is pretty bad. I do think it's like I think Valorant is weird though because it's incredibly young and these people have just like developed these weird egos because they're good at the game and I guess they're allowed power. I don't know. It's in a really weird spot.
Because I've never seen it in any other game. I know like when I log into like I don't know like an Apex or an Overwatch. I mean surprisingly I've realized the Overwatch community is better than the Valorant community.
Oh,
which is interesting because I've like some of their content is like I'll go on TikTok or I'll go on YouTube, like some of their content like it genuinely makes me laugh and I'm like wow, you guys are like surprisingly creative with this. But then like I'll look at the Valorant community, it's like the same, like I feel like it's been the stale and it's been like hard to produce content, like good content. I feel like the only few people that I've seen that produce like are content creators that pursue like really innovative content is like I don't know if you know Willis, the guy, the skull emoji. I feel like he's one of the only people like, or he's one of the few people that I've seen like really produce like really outstanding content, but like not only just make it like, hey, let me just get some Twitch clips and make it funny moments. Because I feel like content creation is also a big driving force for esports, because if you have the content creation side, like boosting your esports can only get better. It opens more eyes because it just brings people to the game. And if like you can agree with me, it's like, do you feel like content creation and esports really go hand in hand when it comes to that kind of like growth?
Yeah, 100%. I think, if you're an org and you don't have your players like streaming, you're losing money, you're losing eyes, you're losing the chance for, you know, the personalities to really be developed and sell the brand that your org is trying to sell. It's also something that, you know, companies like Riot, when they open up a partnership program and say, hey, we'll pay you $600,000 a year, that's something that they're taking into consideration too, right? Sentinels got in not because they were a great team, but I mean, look at what they're doing. Their socials, like their presence on social media is insane. All of their content creators, their players are content creators. They have good teams, sure, but you know, Optic, who just got second place, didn't get any of that. You know, so it's like, you know, they didn't make it into the partnership program. So yeah, I think content creation is so incredibly important. I will say for Valorant though, without a demo system, it is gonna be stale. You know, you can't make cool content or different content without the ability to kind of jump into the range. And unless you're like really working with people and you have an observer running the free cam, if you were to like imagine what you could do with Tenz's ace videos from solo queue, if you could load that map back up and you could free cam that map instead of like having to try and do something scripted, and now you're able to get the overhead views, the free cam views of that same Tenz ace from that game in solo queue, right? If we had like a replay system like that, I think content creation would be through the roof. So I think Riot is still kind of like fumbling the bag by not having a replay system, because it would only boost that content creation that, you know, then in turn boosts the esport.
For
like
sure,
you said.
for sure. I feel like that's one of the biggest thing people like. I think since the game came out, it's everyone's like, when can I replay the game? It's been like almost 3 years now, where like the game has not been like, there's no demo system, there's no replay system. It's like, guys, like not only is it good for VOD reviewing because we don't have to like, everyone doesn't have to just like, like for example, teams don't have to like have 5 POVs recording plus coaches recording. So like they could just roll it up and be like, all right, guys, why like they can. It's that, and you said the content creation and like the the compilation, the frag movies, like the moves has done and all that. Like he would be like
Yeah.
that. The edits for like those would be
Yeah.
really insane. They would be over the roof. So that's what I'm saying. Like Riot is still doing a very well, like very good job. Like I can
Yeah.
agree, like they're doing a very good job when it comes to Valorant. They're taking care of it. They're making the ecosystem as best as they can. I mean, you can only control the ecosystem as much as possible. You can't make it pitch perfect. So it's it's definitely like there are a lot of things, and minus the demo system, what would you, if you were CEO for a day, what would you do to help improve the game? Like one or two things.
Oh, that's tough. I think they just implemented something in League of Legends where if somebody is typing like crudely, they'll get muted on the spot in that game, and it'll actually let the chat know, like, hey, this person has been muted for the rest of the game. Can't send messages, won't receive your messages. I think doing something like that would be nice because, I mean, game to game, you always have to have somebody. But then I think with, you know, the initiative that Riot is pushing and making esports a safe place for women and marginalized genders, we know that in ranked games that still isn't happening. So like the ability to be able to, at the very least, text, yes, like when somebody is harassing in text, you like to have that same league feature to mute that person, like the system muting them, not necessarily you as the player having to mute them. I think that would be something like really nice. And I think in that same kind of line of thinking, you know, like a dislike button. I know it's not a dislike button, but essentially being able to say, yeah, like I like this player, I would love to queue into them again. I hated this player, I don't ever want to queue with this person again. And kind of being able to separate that so that way you are, especially at the highest ranks where, you know, at Radiant and Immortal, you are playing with the same people, you know, kind of often, more often than you would probably at Gold and Platinum. So to be able to not necessarily pick and choose your teammates, but make sure that you're not gonna have, you know, shitty teammates would be super cool. Demo system is, you know, speaks for itself. I know you said, well, without a demo system, I can't really think of anything off the top because like outside of that, you know, to try and help clean up the community a little bit, just because like Riot is doing a really good job. They're doing awesome. And like all the things that I think we like about what they've done in the past, they're starting to bring to Valorant. You know, we're starting to get the League of Legends Clash system slowly implemented. Ranked is always going to be ranked. Unranked is always going to be unranked. I think it would be cool to have three different queues, to have an open queue, to have an unrated queue, and a ranked queue. Open queue is no skill-based matchmaking. You can queue it however you want, with whoever you want, and what you get is what you get. Yeah. Skill-based matchmaking, unrated. You know, you want to play the game, try a little bit harder, but you don't want your rank to be on the line. And then, you know, obviously having your ranked. I know skill-based matchmaking has kind of been big on the timeline on Twitter right now. I think that would be fun just because it does suck that like I'm not like an incredible player in Valorant. I just last night I hit Ascend in 1, and I do play with people who are like, you know, platinum and gold, and I, you know, when I'm playing unrated, I'm not sitting up and looking at my screen and IGLing and doing all this stuff. Like when I'm playing with my friends like that in unrated, I'm just hanging out and, you know, bunny hopping and running and gunning with the Spectre. It would be nice to, you know, not drag them into a lobby where they're not going to have fun, or to at the very least know that we have a chance to not just get a super sweat lobby, right? If you just have open lobbies with no skill-based matchmaking, you're not guaranteed to get, you know, a bunch of silvers and a bunch of irons. So like, I don't know. I think that'd be like a really nice change for like the casual player. Yeah,
no, for sure. Because like, there's definitely people who just only play like unrated or just don't like ranked because I mean it's fair. Ranked is less. It's not in the best spot right now. Just because like you'll have people who just like don't talk. They'll just be there and just get angry after losing a pistol round. It's like it's kind of insane. Mm-hmm. Or what I kind of just suggested is you should only give streamer mode to a select few of people. For like the bigger streamers like Tarek, like the pros. Like they should only be allowed to have streamer mode, or like people who are within the industry who are like actually positive people. And I said like a suggestion. It's like, hey, why don't you make an like an endorsement like system where if you hit a specific positivity endorsement, you get streamer mode, and if not, you don't get streamer mode because like
Right.
you'll have these people who just like throw, and then you'll know they're throwers, but like you wouldn't like sometimes you wouldn't know because they're in streamer mode, and then I
Yeah.
can't avoid them because I mean we haven't. They said they're gonna add an avoid system, but one, we don't know how many people you can avoid, and two is do we really like is it really gonna help? Because like if I can only like avoid like 5 people, like there's still like 20 people I still want to avoid because they're toxic, they're throwers, and they're a smurf.
Mhm.
So it's definitely an interesting. That's what I said. I think the streamer mode thing was like my biggest thing because like I don't want to go into a game and then have someone who's like a smurf or someone who's intentionally throwing or just toxic and just I don't know until I get into a game and then boom I lose 25 RR because like I just wasted 40 minutes of my life just with a toxic player. So I mean that's my 2 cents into the thing, and if I would change it, I would.
I think a cool change to streamer mode would be because so what I think would happen if you only gave like streamer mode to streamers is if the other team sees like, oh, that guy has streamer mode, he is for sure a big streamer, let me go find him, and it would like I think that would cause more stream sniping. But to kind of combat that point of not wanting to queue with people because they're using streamer mode, maybe you don't enable streamer mode until like loading in, right? So like in your agent select, you can see everybody's names. So that way, you know, and then whoever has streamer mode on, once you load in and the banners pop up, that's where it just says, you know, Chamber, Astra, whatever. So that way the enemy team, you know, can't stream snipe. And then you do know who like your teammates are in agent select, and you can be like, all right, well, I don't want to play with Gasnerth, the judging Cypher player, so I'm out of here. And then you just dodge. But yeah, I think there could be something done with that. Because yeah, at higher ranks, that is absolutely a problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just like there's a lot of it's like these are like small changes, but I feel like these small changes could come a long way because like
it's like yeah, good quality of life stuff, you know?
Yeah, because these small changes will like let people come in and be like, hey, you know what, I'll play right because like these have this small system and I won't be as tilted going to bed as I would usually.
Yeah,
for sure. But I think that's it's there's a lot of changes. I feel like Riot overall has been doing a really good job. I hope you do get more time and more game changers. I really hope because like it sucks because like you are like a really good person and I feel like I've listened to some of your stuff and you really have a good insight on stuff. So I really hope you get more gigs in the future.
Thank you.
So
thanks, man.
No problem, of course. So we have a tradition here usually in the podcast. Okay. So we like to ask questions. First, what is your go-to boba order if you drink boba?
I'm not like a big boba guy. I don't like standard boba. I'll do like the flavored boba with flavored boba balls. So I'm typically like I lean like anything that I can get that's like strawberry and mango is kind of my boba route.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because we usually ask every question. Some people just have never had boba and they're like, yeah, I just don't like it. I just don't have boba. So it's usually people, surprisingly, it's usually people from the UK or just people from like not in America. So it's kind of interesting to see.
I feel like boba is like an esports, kind of like Korean barbecue and boba are almost like if you watch Mess do esports, you should be familiar with
yeah,
those
you should
things.
at least be like it or just know about it at least.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And second question is, so do you know what a bidet is?
I do know what a bidet is.
Okay, do you have one by any chance?
I don't, but I would love to get one. I used one for the first time. I drove to California to go see the Astral Clash event, which is like the first in-person LAN for Game Changers. And the hotel that I stayed in had a bidet. And if Astral Clash wasn't only one day, I would have missed the day to just stay home with the hotel, let me tell you. Because, yeah, the bidet is absolutely life-changing.
Right? Okay. Because Danny, he roasts the shit out of it because I have one in my home, right? It's a pretty good, It's a pretty easy installment. It's just like, there's the one where you put inside the toilet and it's like you just have a switch. It's pretty easy installment. And he roasts me about it. So we're like, you know what? We already have guests on. Why don't we just ask them if like what they think about bidet? So it's definitely an interesting thing to everyone's input because I had the CEO of Leviathan on a few weeks ago, And I asked him, I'm like, oh, so what do you think about bidets? He's like, oh, everyone in Argentina has it. It's like, if you don't have it in Argentina, he's like, if you don't have it in Argentina, you're considered dirty. And I'm like, oh, wow. Because he's like, yeah, it's like everyone has it. It's like, if you don't have it, it's like, you're kind of like looked at weirdly. So it's interesting compared to the duality between Argentina that I'll ask like anybody in NA is like, oh, I just don't have it. So it's like, interesting to see.
So basically what you're saying is that you have all of Argentina on your side and Danny is wrong for making you feel weird.
I have all of Argentina. I have a whole country on my side. So I need to put that out there. I just need to know. But appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. This has been like a really fun podcast host. I really appreciate you coming on. If you have anything you want to like promote, do you have any socials you want to promote? This episode, it won't come out this Friday. It's the next Friday that would come out. So if you have anything coming out before then, you can promote it. And this episode, nothing would be leaked until then.
Next Friday. I unfortunately don't really have a whole lot coming up. But I have a personal stream. I try and stream at night, Tanner_Metro on Twitch or Twitter. I do Valoranting every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I guess in the next couple of weeks, when this episode comes out, if anybody's watching and you are out in across the pond in Berlin, I might be there doing some media stuff. So if you want to come say hi to me, please do come say hi to me. We'll take some pictures and sign some babies and do all that stuff. Yeah. And other than that, I'm kind of just chilling. So, and I appreciate your time. Seriously, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad Stickbug, like I said, kind of ran us into each other.
Shout out to him. He's a legend. But appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. All right. I love you guys. Bye-bye. And boom. We are...